Little technical stress before, no big deal, right?
No big deal at all.
Let's let everybody
Is it is it
get
sharing
there.
sharing the screen properly?
You are sharing it perfectly.
Okay.
It's amazing. How is everybody this morning? Hopefully everybody can hear us. A little technical problem there in the beginning, but we got it all under control. Because what would it be if we didn't have that, right? That's just the way it is these days.
Yes. We'll
I'll
blame the eclipse
fix this off
yesterday.
real quick since it's 10:02. I want to make sure we're starting on time. We are recording this, so we'll have it for posterity, I guess. Um, I don't know. I don't know why I did that, but that's why I said. And Jessica, can you just let people in as they come in?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. Make sure you have access. My name is Amy
Yes.
Marie. I am the Hillsborough County Council PTA president. I'm super excited. Will and Jessica are here to kind of kick off what we've been really trying to create the past year. And we're super excited about. So the ESE Parent Rep program, which is kind of a collaboration. And Will's going to introduce himself and Jessica can introduce herself and we'll kick it off.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are super excited to start this conversation, get things going, and let's jump right in.
Yeah.
And we'll just start with
So
the quick introductions. So,
yes,
Jessica, if you want to tell us a little about
really
yourself.
quickly. Hello,
All
all.
those.
My name is Jessica Meza. I am the Schwarzkopf president, the PTA president over at Schwarzkopf, and I also am co-chair with Will here doing ESC for the district. A little bit about myself. I have 3 kids. My son is on the spectrum, so this whole ESC, the initiative we're working on is very near and dear to me. I have a lot of experience, obviously, with having a child on the spectrum, and as well as my older sister that I raised, which is severely autistic, that I still take care of and a caregiver to. So this is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm just so happy to see the outcome of even just you guys all being here right now. There's a lot of new faces that I'm seeing, and I'm very excited to jump in.
Thank you. And Jessica is actually the person who introduced me to this entire project. My name is Will Haynes. I am the ESE Parent Rep at Schwarzkopf. And I'm new to PTA. My son, who's also on the spectrum, is in kindergarten. And I was the parent who emails for every event asking questions about the lighting and the sound and what's available and all these kinds of things. And so when Jessica approached me earlier this year and said, hey, we are doing this initiative, we would like a parent to head this up. You're pretty persistent. So, and so, would you like to help? And I was like, absolutely. Which led to, helping out at the district level with this committee. And we're really looking to add legitimacy to all the local level PTAs who are trying and parents who are trying to do this kind of work to be more inclusive with the kiddos. And at the district level, what we're doing is really going to help with that. And so we're going to take you on a little journey here just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover. So real quick, what is this ESE Parent Rep Initiative? You may have heard things about it. You may have talked to one of us or someone else. How you can be involved. We're hoping that everyone will be involved in some way. The role of the ESE parent, what this looks like in real life. So we're going to put this into terms and actual steps and things that we're going to do, including building the role, what we call the 4 milestones, and the end-all question of how much time is involved. So we'll kind of dive into that just for a second and talk a little bit about the support that the committee that we're going to offer so that if you're a parent rep or PTA supporting this, that you're not doing this by yourself. You don't have to create it from scratch. We are going to be there to help. And so, first to make sure we're on the same page, what is ESC? So keep throwing that term around. And, it's defined, we're going to go by the state, Florida state legislation laws and the district of how we, use some of these terms. So exceptional student education, designed for instruction related services for students with disabilities and students who are identified as gifted. If you're from another state like I am, you moved here, you might say that seems weird. In Florida, ESC does cover gifted students as well. So there's a whole other group of parents who may be very interested in being involved. And when they talk about disabilities, it covers a lot of different things, and you can look for specifics, but it's talking everything like intellectual disabilities, autism, speech impairment, language impairments, health, visual impairments, learning disabilities like dyslexia, deafness, developmental delays, yada, yada, yada. Not to dismiss all the different things that are out there, but it's a pretty wide net that this covers and the kinds of students that we want to include. And ultimately, this is what we're doing will benefit every student, whether they have an IEP or a 504 or nothing at all. It will help. And so to talk quickly, what is the ESE Parent Rep Initiative? What is it that we're talking about? So this is a joint initiative from the Hillsborough County Council PTA and the Superintendent's Advisory Council for the Education of Students with Disabilities. A mouthful. So we'll just call it the District PTA or the HCCPTA and the Superintendent's Council. And the official definition that was created is kind of lengthy, but the bottom line is we're trying to increase the inclusion of all families at the school level, so at the local school, by having an ESE parent rep bridge the gap in communications and involvement through building relationships with and among ESE staff, school level administration, ESE parents, and the general education parents as well. What does that mean? We would like to help PTAs place a ESE parent rep on a committee, on the board, whatever they see fit. I mean, ideally, we want to see them having invitations to the meetings. It may be a PTA member, so maybe your secretary or president, a lot of times are taking on these roles. So that works out really well. You may be a committee head, subcommittee head, just depends on how the PTA is set up at your school. And then also, we want to help train and support the PTA and the parent reps, the ESE parent reps, so that no one's trying to figure this out on their own. And that means sharing resources, trainings, talking about what this looks like, because this is new. So if you're involved in the PTA, if you become, if you got elected last year, let's say, they give you a binder, they give you a folder with all the stuff in it that the previous person in that position did. Hopefully something like that. With this, that doesn't exist, but we're creating that to give to you. So I'm going to say this a lot. You're not doing this alone, because when I talk to parents and PTAs that are interested in this, they often come back with, we don't know what to do though. Okay, so we want to do this, but then what or how? And so that's what we're going to be helping with. And if you're wondering, okay, so why is this important? Why are we doing this? Well, the ESE parent rep, the goal really is, we're improving communication and inclusion of the families. If you are a parent or a teacher of an ESE kiddo, it breaks your heart sometimes to think that they may not feel welcome at events at school. And it's not to say that they aren't. I really believe that when the PTA is planning events, they want all the kids to come. They want as many families to come. But even having questions, is this appropriate for my kid? Like that, it breaks your heart, right? Like that your kiddo may not be able to participate in something. And we want to help make sure that the parents know, yes, your kids are welcome and included, and we're actually taking a step to make that more possible for them. We want to strengthen connection between the ESE families, staff, and the school, provide support and share a voice for ESE parents. Together, we have the ability for advocacy. We can push as a big advocacy, changing even legislation, district policies, or even local school policies when necessary. And then increasing the family engagement of those families, participation in school events. And the big one for me is moving from awareness to acceptance. Right now, this month is Autism Awareness, and there's a lot of great, my Facebook feed is filled with people posting facts about autism and famous people who are on the spectrum and all those kinds of things, which is fantastic. I love that. And I want to take that a step further and say, awareness is easy. I'm aware of a lot of things, but then what do we do next? How do we learn to include those people, to be friends with those folks, to do the work, to make sure they're included? And that's, another reason why. So we're moving right along. This is good. And so the question is, how can you be involved? So you're at this meeting. This is the first step. And there's people here who are parents who are like, I love this idea. People who are like, I have no idea what this is, but I thought I'd come anyway. PTAs who are interested, staff, we've got interest from all over the place. And so how can you be involved? One, we need parents who are going to step up and be the parent rep for their PTA. If your PTA is on board with this. They know what it is, and they've asked you to be part of this. Awesome. If your PTA is not aware of this yet, then we have an opportunity. We can work together to talk to them and work with creating that at your PTA. So it's something that we can help you do. Maybe you saying, I love this, but it's not going to work for me. I don't have that kind of time. You can help recruit. You can help support. You can be part of the overall committee at your school. You can join this committee. So as we create different resources and put together tools to provide to the ESE parent reps and to PTAs, like it's a lot of work. And so we need that help as well. And then this is actually an exciting, maybe a small part of something bigger that we're looking at. And Amy's going to talk about the potential of charting a countywide special education PTA, something that could have even bigger reach and a bigger impact. But I'll let Amy talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you. So as this grows, it can become its own PTA. A special education PTA can be chartered within a county. We have one statewide that is, I think they chartered a couple of years ago, and they provide resources and outreach statewide. But if we do have significant support for creating a team of individuals that would like to lead, it would be a virtual PTA basically, because you're not attached to any kind of location. But you provide advocacy support, provide support to families. And again, I'm going to answer the question in the chat from Victoria. It would be a chairperson on a PTA. So that would, maybe the special education PTA would be their direct support and helping them develop resources, share opportunities, things like that. It is not a separate position within the school. We're a volunteer organization. We're underneath the National PTA, Florida PTA, and Hillsborough County Council oversees and supports all of the local units here in Hillsborough County. We do have the highest number of active local units in the whole state. So there is ample opportunity, I would think, to charter a special education PTA, but the structure would look the same: a president, a treasurer, a secretary, and you would advocate on special education within our county. And then Amy Lynn, I can connect you with your PTA, and we can connect and talk to them about what they're doing. And should it be a chairperson? Every PTA is structured differently a little bit. So obviously you have the basics. You're always going to have a president, secretary, and a treasurer, because that's required by law to be in compliance. So, it could be a committee underneath your programs. It could be a chairperson that sits on the board of directors. It would just depend on what your local unit can provide, can support. Because sometimes, they're not as robust as others. So, but yeah, I would, when I was president at a middle school here in Hillsborough, we had a very large access point program within our school. So we did have a parent representative who sat on our board of directors, but we also had the ESE department head also sat on the board of directors, so that they also had a vote and they counted toward my quorum. Because we did a lot of work with them, and they trying to include everybody in our planning and making sure that we were reaching all of our families. So yes, it could look different, but if there is interest in creating a SEPTA, we can absolutely do that, and we can talk about that afterwards.
Excellent, and super exciting stuff, because this is all going to benefit our kids, all the kids, right? So this is super exciting. And I apologize, I did not see the chat. So as questions, and when some of these are going to be answered as we go, so we'll definitely get there. So of course, when Jessica asked me, would you be interested in this? I had two questions. What is it? How much time is involved? And that's a good question. Anytime someone asks you to volunteer, those are important questions, because you might agree to do something and then go, wait, I didn't know what that was. So real quick, like the role description, to look at this. So part of it is going to be representing the ESE parent community at PTA meetings. This is going to vary a little bit depending on the structure of your PTA. And as we talk to some, they have an amazing PTA, PTSA at the school, and they do lots of meetings, and committees are there, and it's all great. Other PTAs, they say, hey, we have a hard time getting people on the board, let alone people to come to meetings. So they're a lot smaller, a little more mobile. Of course, they're trying to grow that, but that, maybe just different depending on your school. And so at the minimum, your PTA is going to have those 3 general meetings. You need to be there, right? You want to be there to understand what's going on, to be a voice, maybe even give an update on what's happening, depending on the structure. Ideally, in a perfect world, your PTA will have the PTA parent rep will be going to those board meetings, those monthly meetings where they're actually putting into action the plans. So over the summer, they say, hey, we're going to do these 5 events or these 3 events. And then as they're doing those meetings, they're planning those. It'd be great if you're there to ask the right questions, to understand what's going on, to communicate to parents, to be that voice, to say, hey, wait a second, let's think about this or whatever. What it's not is you're not like vetoing what the PTA is doing or necessarily changing what they're doing. You are being a voice to represent the ESE community, just so they're thinking about it. And I always think about when I am talking to parents with students who are just in the typical classroom, typical track, no IEPs, no disabilities, no developmental delays. They're fantastic parents, but they don't necessarily think the way that we do. And that's the case for anything that you deal with, other people don't. Like, you have to think about it. And I had once I'm a photographer, and so I was doing photography for the yearbook for the PTA, and they asked, hey, can you come to an event? Can you be here at 6:45? Event kicks off at 7:10. And I said, well, I dropped my son off at school, and I can't drop him off until 7:10, so I can be there. They said, oh, just bring him with you. You can stand by the road and take pictures. And I said, well, I can't because he will elope. Like, he has a tendency to kind of wander off or run off in some cases, and it's on the road. And I could see the light bulb click, and she's like, oh, I'd never thought of that because, in her mind, my kid will sit there and read a book while I do whatever I'm doing. And it's not that she didn't do anything wrong. She just didn't even think about that. Where ESE parents, we have a ton of things that we're thinking about all the times, about what our kids can and can't do, or, what situations like that. And so we just want to bring that kind of thinking to the planning process or to when they're doing things. So first part of the role is you're going to meetings, you're interacting with the PTA. That's going to be huge. The second part is acting as a liaison between the ESE community, the PTA board, and ESE specialists. So part of the role is you're going to be talking to parents. And I'll warn you that parents may come to you with things that aren't necessarily PTA related, but you are someone that they want to talk to. I've had people ask me, how do I get my kid in for an evaluation? I can't get an appointment with its developmental pediatrician. And I go, I that's not a PTA question. I can't help you with that. I can only offer you my ear. I can offer you sympathy and empathy. I can share what I did, if I have some experience with that. Parents are going to vent to you about everything from the IEP meeting didn't go they wanted it to their kids not interacting well with another kid on the playground. Like, I've had that too. And again, those aren't necessarily PTA issues, but we want to listen to that. And if it is something that we can address, absolutely, we can bring that concern. You might go to your PTA president and say, hey, these are things I'm hearing from the parents. And when that president is meeting with the principal, he or she may say, hey, here's some things we're hearing from parents. Like, that can be helpful. But just as that warning, I've had parents call with venting and frustrations and stories that they're not PTA related, but they feel like, hey, here's someone who will listen. And of course we can listen, and maybe we can connect them with the right resources when possible. But we'll get that a little bit from the teachers as well. I've had a few of our ESE teachers and ESE paraprofessionals tell me about things that they've been we have one who's trying to, she wants to build a sensory room in the school, which is a very, very big goal. And I'm not the logistics, and there's lots of things behind it. And, before COVID, we had this, and now we have this, and this is what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, those are big concerns. And, how can we help? Or the teacher who told me, can you get the PTA to buy us new chairs? I'm like, that's not a PTA thing. Like, sorry, I will mention it, but there's nothing that we can do. So you're going to have some of those things. But the other side of that is you're going to learn about some great things in the community that are happening. You're going to be able to connect people to resources, gather information that we can then pass on to school administration, that maybe we can see some change that way. And even learn about what's happening at the school. Our ESE teachers and our classroom teachers, they spend as much, if not more, time with our kids sometimes than we do. And so they can tell us, hey, here's what we're seeing. These are things that we would love to see at the school. And that can help us gather the parents to act, or just understand what's happening. So we want to make that connection and be that bridge. And our teachers and our staff, they're tremendous resources. Like I said, they're with our kids a lot. And so we want to listen to their concerns and their ideas. We want to listen to the parents and bring all that together. We can learn a lot, right? The other part of the role is we want to meet with the ESE specialists at our school. The ideal is like quarterly, so we're going to have regular contact with them. In your school, it may be different. You might meet with them formally, maybe twice a year, but you're seeing them at events. Maybe you volunteer at the school already, so you're seeing these ESE teachers. I see my son's ESE teacher quite a bit. She's at a lot of events that I go to, so we talk a lot. So that formal meeting isn't as necessary, but maybe the lead ESE person at the school, I don't see her at all. And so having a meeting with her, that's more helpful, right? So that's going to depend a little bit, but we want to have updating them on what we're doing as ESE parent reps, what our committee is doing, what our parents are, what they need, the concerns that they have, things like that. And we also want to, get that information from them about what's happening at the school, just so we're all on the same page and we can move forward in adding inclusion and things like that. So I see someone ask, what if our PTA is non-existent or not active? We're going to get to that a little bit later because that's an excellent question. Because that's the truth in some cases. So that's a good question. Hold tight. We'll get there. Another role description part is to help distribute materials, info, and resources. This is a great way to let people know what's going on. Hillsborough County is huge, right? We're just a big county, and there's things going on, and no one can keep track of all of them. But we can help. And so one of the things at the end, I'm going to have a link that is the HCCPTA ESE resources and information Facebook page. I would encourage you, if you're a parent rep, PTA, whoever it is, follow that page. Get your parents to follow that page because we're already sharing a lot of this information, so you don't have to necessarily go out and find it. So if there is a Sunshine Sunday coming up at Glacier Children's Museum where they lower the lights and reduce the sounds and it's a lower cost, and you want to let your families know about that so they can go enjoy the museum, awesome. You can that'll be posted on our page. You can take it, you can share it with your families, or they're already seeing it. Or the YMCA will offer a free water safety course, and you want to let people know, hey, this is a big deal. And again, this is stuff that doesn't necessarily just benefit the ESE community, it benefits everyone. We want to share that. So you can share those resources. There may be other things specific to your school that you want to share. And there's tons of ways you can do that, whether it's social media, sending flyers home, digital flyers, whatever your PTA uses to communicate. We want to be a resource to share what's happening around the community. And then finally, we want to encourage the ESE survey participation. If you are an ESE family, you have gotten these. You've gotten probably bombarded with messages. We really want people to fill these out. And there's the district, the Superintendent's Advisory Council. There may be one from your school. You may create one specifically for your group of parents. That data is invaluable to us. We want to encourage that participation. Right? We want to get that information because that's how we know what's going on or how people feel about things. And it gives us data to work with. And I can tell you that data does go in, they analyze it. The Superintendent's Council, they work with FSU and they have their whole department working on analyzing this data and putting together reports. So it is helpful and it gives us something to work with. And, before we move on, there are a couple of, actually this question is very well timed. What if we don't have a PTA? So there are two big scenarios that I see happening with the ESE parent rep. So scenario one, is what I call top down. And this is the PTA is interested. So they heard about this, we've talked to them, whatever it may be. And they say, hey, we would love to have this exist at our school and our PTA. That's awesome. So from there, we just need to recruit a parent or maybe one of the board members or a committee head or someone who's already involved in PTA is going to do it. We can work with the school, asking the ESE teachers, the principal, who would be a good fit. But if the PTA is already interested, we just need to get the right person in place and then train. And that's something this committee is going to help do, is give you the tools, the resources, and the training to do the job and do it well. And then we're going to connect with everyone else. And it's going to be a great resource sharing situation. We want to help train the PTA to how to work with the ESE parent rep. Again, that's going to be a back and forth and working. It's not that the parent rep is going to come in and veto things and say this is how it has to be done. but also making sure that the PTA is, understands how this role is supposed to work. And so we want to train them as well. So top down, awesome. We love that when that happens. Scenario 2 is what we call bottom up, which is when we have a parent interested, but the PTA either doesn't know about this initiative or there is no PTA at that school or it's inactive, right? And so it's a little bit more tricky because we have to kind of make things happen. So if your PTA doesn't know about this, so let's say right now and you're saying, I love this idea, I would love to be this role or step into this role, but my school's PTA doesn't know this exists. Let's talk to them, right? Let's just tell them it exists. And we're happy to do that, whether it's from, I'm sure Amy would be happy to connect you. We would be happy to talk to them and reassure your PTA that you're not coming into this giving them a ton of extra work. Like, we're going to support you. We have already a toolbox of things to help you. And we'll go over that at the end. So it's not like they have to come up with this. They just have to say, yes, let's do it. And then we can do that. If there's no PTA at your school, step 1, let's start a PTA. Let's charter a PTA. That's something that Amy does quite a bit, and something I'm sure we can all help do. If you say, hey, we'd love to do that, but man, we can't get anyone involved. We have no PTA and it's gonna be a lot of work and maybe we're trying to reactivate it. Then you can still kind of take on the role of the parent rep. It would be unofficial. And so basically you would just start having conversations with the school, and everything that we're doing here, you could adapt and say, hey, we're having these events at the school. Let's talk about being inclusive. And that would be at the ESE staff or whoever the decision makers are at your school. That one, obviously, like, we know that's the most difficult, but even before this role existed, that's what I was doing at Schwarzkopf. I didn't know anything about PTA, but I knew they were hosting events. So I was contacting whoever was in charge and asking questions. And that was the start. I've annoyed some people, but now they gave me a position. So I'm officially annoying. So you can kind of do those same things. I know it could be a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. And obviously, if you don't have a PTA, you're not having a lot of PTA events. So now you're working with maybe some of the teachers have a committee to plan things or something like that. And so it's a matter of like, hey, how can I get involved to make sure that we are being inclusive?
If you don't have a PTA at your school, you can reach out to me and we can talk about helping get one started. I put my email in the chat. And then if you don't have a PTA, but you want to, add some input as far as making things more inclusive, ask your administration who your FACE ambassador is. That's your family and community engagement ambassador that is appointed by the principal. And it's a district position. That's like an internal position. Then it's usually a teacher or the media center special. It's on top of what they already do. It's not a special position, but it is a designation. So, and that's the person that we as PTA would also collaborate with. But if you don't have a PTA, that would be the one person you could reach out to and say, hey, how can I support making things more attainable for our ESE students and family?
Excellent. Yeah, so let's get those PTAs activated. Like, there's some good things that can happen. So in other words, like the quick condensing all of that information, what is the role of this? We're building that bridge. We're attending meetings. We're getting surveys filled out. We're bringing concerns to teachers, staff, parents, and we're collaborating to create or modify activities so that ESE students can participate. And, to get into some of the practical things of what this looks like, I'm going to ask Jessica, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, of course.
If you could talk about, some of the things that you've seen happen, that you've helped initiate, or things that we've done, specific things that
at our school.
In our event planning, you know what I'm talking about, yeah.
Oh yeah, yes. So I know when Will jumped in and he had all the questions, he had the amazing idea of doing social stories when we had our annual bear run. And like our fun run in the beginning of the year, fall fundraiser. And most of the time, like he said, most parents, or even just me, myself, knowing that my kids have gone to school for so long, I just know bear run is bear run. But then, we have a parent like Will where they're coming in with their new little one and they don't know what to expect with the bear run. And he came up with this amazing social story of like mapping out how the school was, what the layout would be, what to expect, the water that would be there, the Kona ice that would be there. So that's one example that we did. We also just had our winter dance. And so we talked to the principal, and it changed completely from last year to where we could have, just giving those kiddos a heads up, hey, the music will be loud, there will be lights, but the back is open in case you need to take a break and things like that. And now we're end of the year, we have something called Bear Bash. Sorry, we have so many bear things. So we just do it all out for the whole school, and it's inflatables. It's like end of the year fun. But this year we're incorporating a sensory tent. So that is also something very exciting that we are doing, brand new for the school, and just having that area for our kiddos that need that break to be able to go and do that break. So that's kind of what we've been working on. We have more things planned in the fall, but as of now, that's the few things that we have executed and are going to be working on in the next few months.
Thank you. And those are good examples of things that may come up. Other specific things, and we have in the toolbox that ESE parent reps and the PTAs will have access to is a list of questions, and these, they're flexible depending on what's happening, but questions to ask about sensory input, food, logistics, and things that anxious ESE parents would like to know. And so it might be, hey, I'm going to create an FAQ, just frequently asked questions I can send home with the appropriate students so that they have information they need. Social narratives, if you're not familiar, are first-person stories going through the layout of an event or a visit. Some of our really great community spots do them. Glacier has one. Florida Aquarium has one. I think Florida Aquarium has one. I think We Rock the Spectrum down in Brandon has one. Social stories that USF card has on their website. And so we created one, it's just helping the kids know what to expect. I can tell you, my son, he's very strict on his routine. Even at 6 years old, if the routine changes, it throws him for a loop and it can cause some problems, right? Whether it's just, now he wants to get away from what's happening, or he's not going to listen because he's overwhelmed. And so with the solar, we read it a couple of times the week before, and it goes through the expectations. So today I'm doing the bear run. I'm going to walk with my class. I'm going to sit in a line until it's my turn, and blah, 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 whatever it is. And it's a great way to share expectations with the kiddos as well as the families. As Jessica mentioned, my first year, they announced the bear run. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, well, it's the bear run. I don't know. What is that? And so as you learn more about it, you start asking, okay, do I need my headphones for this? Is it going to be loud? Oh yeah, there is a DJ playing music. So I'll make sure he has his headphones, or make sure his teacher knows that he has those in his bag, or, different things like that. In any case, those are just some specifics for events. Some other things that you might end up doing, you might, just to brainstorm. Maybe you're creating an event to get together the parents, the ESE families. It might be a support group. One of the Facebook groups I'm a part of, someone asked today, they said, I'm new, I'm struggling. Are there support groups in the area? And this is a great chance to say, hey, you know what, at your school, we can create that, because other parents have either experiences that can help you through, or they understand where you're coming from. And that's something maybe, I love the idea that could happen at different schools where parents are supporting each other in that sense. It might be maybe creating an event because your school doesn't have a lot of events. Your PTA isn't as active. You say, hey, let's do something that is really sensory friendly that we can really include. I mean, everyone can come, but really is meant to include those ESE families and those kinds of things, right? So there's lots of stuff that this could look like. And if you get into this role and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, certainly we're here to help. And again, that toolbox is going to have for you things to get started. So as we move, we're moving right along, how to get there. So again, the question of, what is it, but also part of this is like, how do I do it? And so we created what we call milestones. I don't know if that's the best word, because they're not linear. Like, it looks like you're climbing a mountain. All these things can kind of happen at the same time. And don't worry about reading these. It's small. We're going to look at each one, the 4 milestones. So one is connect with the school. You're going to hear some things we already talked about. And what does that look like? So a meeting with the principal, assistant principal, that FACE representative, the guidance counselors, the people at your school that need to know about this. And that's going to vary from school to school. In the toolbox, we have sample emails and letters to send different people in the school to say, hey, we're starting this. We need help identifying a parent. Hey, we're starting this, or I'm the person who introduced myself and set that first meeting. So we have some tools to help start that conversation. Connecting with the school, again, meeting with the teachers and staff. We can also get recommendations on how to connect with the parents, right? That's one of the hardest things, is how do I get parents to read the email, or how do I get them to see the flyer? How do I get them to know that we exist? And your ESE staff and your teachers are going to know this because they know which teachers respond to the flyers and which ones respond to an email, which ones you have to text or whatever it might be. And then also just kind of gathering a little bit of information about the school. Obviously, like one of the challenges with the ESE families, we can't go to the school and say, give me a list. They can't do that, right? We're talking about private medical information. And so having some idea of, roughly how many IEP, are we talking, there's one IEP in the school, there's one kid with autism in the school, or are there 75? That can change our approach. Again, we may not get that specific information. The parents would have to share things with us, but the school can they can point us in the right direction. Like, yeah, we have a large number of ESE families here. Some of them, it might be obvious because you have other programs in the school, but that's something that they can help with. So when you're connecting with the school, letting them know that we exist and building that bridge with them. The other part is connecting with the families. So letting them know that you exist. That could be everything from using social media, websites, and announcements and flyers, meet and greet events. Did it change? It still says, there it goes. Okay, sorry. Notice that my screen didn't change. Getting the surveys filled out, maybe connecting, creating a contact list, and building a committee of like-minded parents and PTA members. That's why I hesitate to call this a committee, although technically, like, this is an ESE committee that your PTA would kind of have. I like to call it a community because we want to treat this as a true community where people are getting together to share the stuff that we're going through and help each other. What we did at Schwarzkopf, we sent out, so it started with a digital flyer with a survey telling parents, hey, that we exist. This is what this ESE Parent Rep is. Fill this out if you're interested in kind of being involved, which was just some basic contact information and information about how they like to be contacted. Do you want to be emailed or text? Are available during the day or at night? Those kinds of things, so we can start planning if we're going to have a meetup, when can we do it, and that kind of stuff. And then we'll send it out as a digital flyer. And I know one question that comes up when we talk about this, like, why are we doing this now? It's the end of the school. There's like 6 weeks of school left. This is the perfect time to start connecting with our families. Yes, some of our families, the 5th graders, might be moving on to middle school, and then 9th graders or 8th graders are moving on to high school next year, or we have people who are graduating out, depending on their school. But there's still a really good chance to start building that community. And your local PTA, we're in the midst of election season. If they haven't done it yet, it's coming soon. And so it'd be great to start off the new board with this program, this initiative in place. So this is a good chance to start talking to those people, especially because over the summer, your local PTA, hopefully they're starting to plan, building the calendar, starting to get stuff together. I know it's not as active as the school year, but to be in place to start helping with that process would be huge. The other part, sharing information resources, we talked a lot about that already. So, whether it's sharing events in the calendar, FAQs for events, sending resources, sharing training opportunities that are going on. There are some really great things that happen, whether it's USF Card or Fiddlers, or name the organization that's doing a cool training or an event. And so we want to share those with our families. Again, if you follow the Facebook page, the link at the end for the HCCPTA ESE resources, you'll get a lot of those. And so you won't have to go find them for yourselves. And you might find some really cool things you didn't know that existed. And then, of course, if you didn't know they existed, there's a good chance that the parents in your school didn't, or your teachers, parents didn't know as well. And then finally, like, the big piece of this is building a ESE community. So providing opportunity for connection. The biggest thing here is we can increase advocacy efforts. And that's where that special education PTA is really going to come into effect. So as we build this and we kind of then, work into the SEPTA, we have a bigger group, right? Together, we are stronger than any single parent by ourselves. And so that, whether it's, again, influencing policy or just helping make sure that our educators are educated on the different things that our students face, this would be a big piece of it. So things like, attending meetings, whether it's local, district, influencing policies, and really, like, your problems individually are all of our problems. So what you run into, maybe I haven't experienced it yet, but there's a good chance that I will. So if we can kind of build that community and all that. And then again, just checking in with things, creating opportunities, and so forth. We're almost there. You've listened to me a lot. You guys have done well. Time commitment. So one of the questions I said, what is it and how much time is involved? It's going to depend. So every PTA is different. Every school is a little bit different. But if you look at it this way, you want to attend meetings. That could be a couple hours a month. That could be only a few meetings a year, depending on what your PTA wants you to do. Ideally, it's more of the former. We want you at all the meetings. So as they're planning, you can kind of be that voice. Your PTA may not operate the way they should. You may be meeting with people individually or even committee heads or something like that. So that could vary, but attending meetings is going to be, a couple times a year, several hours. Meeting with teachers. Again, we'd love to see that happen quarterly, but depending on how your school works and how often you're volunteering or see those people, it might be less, it might be more. Reviewing school events. If you're already on the planning committees, if you're already on the board, this is going to take no extra time, but if you're reviewing it as a separate thing, maybe 30 minutes per event just to go through and say, hey, what questions are not answered in this advertisement and how can we get that information to parents? Sharing resources. Again, if you get your parents to follow the Facebook page, then you don't have to do as much of that, but you're still going to be sharing things or making a point on your own PTA social media or digital flyers or whatever they use. So that could be a few hours to a few months, depending. And then creating events or adapting events. That could take, again, a few hours a month. So we're looking at, this isn't a full-time job. It may feel like it. And I'll be honest, up front, if you don't have anything like this at place at your school, there's a little bit more work up front to get it started because we need to get those initial contacts. We need to let people know that it exists. We need to get on board with the PTA and figure out that whole thing. If you're like me, the only thing you knew of PTA is what you saw on TV. So you come into it like very hesitant of like, what is this? What's going to happen? So you have to kind of navigate and figure out who is the person that makes these decisions? Do we have to go through the PTA to talk to the school? Those kinds of things. It's going to take a little bit more time up front. But I can promise you this, as you do this, your PTA and your school will start thinking the way that we're trying to get them to think. So you may not be doing as much as initially started because, the first event, you might contact them and say, hey, can we have a sensory room or what are we doing for kids who have sound sensitivities or, can they bring their own snacks? You're providing this, but we need to bring safe foods or whatever it might be. And they say, oh, that's a really good idea. And then later in the year, they plan an event and they say, we're doing this, but we're going to have a sensory room. And you go, awesome. They already thought of it because they know that we're thinking that way. And then as you get more people included, the biggest thing I want to point out is you're not doing this alone. And ideally, you're going to have a group of other parents at your school that support this and want to help. And you might say, I can't review every event. I can't go to every event. I can't do it. But there's another parent who can, who's going to step in and help you with that. So even though you might be like a committee chair, you are not the only person. Hopefully, you're not the only person who is doing this. You're going to gather those people. And then the last thing that I want to just point out, again, we are supporting you. So we have a whole toolbox of resources and we're continually building that. Everything, again, from what do I do on my first day to questions to ask about events to emails to send to let people know this exists. And as we try things, we'll add it to the toolbox. As you try things and you say, hey, this worked we tried this flyer. It worked really well for us. We'll put it in there. We want that wording so someone else can maybe use that. As well as training opportunities. So these might be training opportunities that come from other organizations, but we're also planning a calendar that will, be available to everyone. Whether it's we have a group in Hillsborough County that's working to educate people on parent rights when it comes to ABA therapy for their autistic kiddos. We want them to come talk and so to spread that message. Why? So you can learn more about that. Or either therapies you haven't heard of, like DIY floor time. You may say, I've never heard of that. Well, we have someone who can kind of talk about if that's something that you want to pursue, or the list goes on. And then of course, sharing the resources and the support with one another. So that is, you've all done very well. It's a lot of information. And this is a good time if we have questions that we can get into. If you have anything that we didn't answer, feel free, you can throw it in the chat or however Zoom lets you talk, do that. I'm not a Zoom expert by any means. And while we're doing questions, I'm going to put this on the screen. If after listening to this, you say, yes, I want to do this, whatever your role might be, you're a PTA member who wants to recruit at your school, you are a parent who wants to get this going, you are a teacher who's like, I don't know how you got to come to this meeting because you should be working, but it's your lunch break or something. Hey, I want to be part of this. You can go to this link. You can scan the QR code. This is just another survey. You might have already filled something out similar to this. This is just letting us know, are you interested? What role are you interested in taking so we can put you on the right list and resource information? And are you interested in the special education PTA, because then we want to connect you with that as well. Yeah, someone asks, Tamara asked, can two parents in the school pair up? Yes, please do. Now, your PTA may only name one person, or they may say, hey, you can be co-chairs, depending on how your school wants to deal with that. And in fact, 2, 5, 10, get as many people that are on board to help with this as possible, or whatever, it makes sense. There needs to be some kind of structure, but certainly have more people involved. So do you need to have a child qualifying for or receiving ESE services to qualify? So I'm going to say no, that's not necessary. It's certainly something to talk to your PTA about. And that's something that we want to make sure to train, because there are some things that maybe you may not think about. So like the toolbox of like what questions to ask, because right now, we have for speech, which, yeah, we get speech as well. So you're already trained to think about things that might deal with communication and speech.
Awesome.
Yes. So
Actually,
yeah,
sounds
based on
perfect.
experience, sounds good. I love it. Honestly, like, we want to get this going. So if your school has like parents who are on fire and want to do this, and they don't have an ESE student, but maybe they have like a experience with their former jobs, or maybe they have a family member that they've taken care of, they grew up with a brother or sister who fall in this category. If that passion is there, yes, we don't want to turn you away, and we don't want your PTA to turn you away.
Absolutely. And I do see, Amy, I see that might be a question for you. I know nothing about PTA, and when asked, I was told it was inactive. Seems daunting.
Which school? More. I don't know. Let me check the list. Hold on.
And I will say, for that one with the PTA being inactive, if you do have that ESC contact for that lead, you could start there. And, kind of like we said, even though they don't have a PTA where you can have that committee position, you could always be that parent liaison that's kind of recommending and sending all the info.
That's not true. They have an active PTA. I don't know who told you that information, but you actually have an active PTA. So I will connect you if you send me an email. I'll connect you with the leadership for the PTA. And it's also a community school, so you should have someone within your school trying to connect the community together. There's usually here's your email. I'll connect you with them. That's no problem. Just shoot me an email. It would be weird for a community school not to have a PTA, honestly. So, because that's what they do, is try to build a community environment for their school to meet the needs. So, but yeah, if you don't know who those people are, I'm happy to connect you. We're gonna post I'll edit it a little bit and I'll put it on our YouTube channel, and then I'll share it in the group, and then I will also send it out. I'll probably post the whole slideshow on our website and send it out to our local leaders too, so they know what's happening. And they do know, I mean, this has gone out to every single local leader in Hillsborough. Jessica can attest to that fact.
Yes, I was just going to say, as Schwarzkopf PTA president, every president has gotten that email about this.
So they know it's happening.
Going out.
They might not know what it is about, though. So they may go, oh, I think I heard about that, but I don't really know what that's about. Send them to Will and Jessica, because they'll help educate them and kind of help them figure out. And obviously I will too. I have no problem doing that. But that's what they're specifically here for, as their committee. And then as a chair, so you can have co-chairs, but as a board of directors member, one chair would be, you only have one vote, so you can't have co-chairs kind of a thing, but you would be like a subcommittee member or something. So it's terminology, really. If you're all working together, it really isn't any different.
Yeah. And then I see the question of, if I want to start, do I reach out to PTA, or will you reach out to PTA first to get to them on board and then connect us? Not sure the best way to go about it.
It's a great question because a lot of
That
us
is
are
a
in that
great question.
situation.
I can
Sorry, I cut
connect
you off,
you with
Jessica.
them if you want. I can like just make an email connection and like
Yeah.
explain what's going on. That might be easier.
Mhm.
You can
Yeah.
totally do
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
think
I would say
even
unless
though
you know someone that's already on the PTA board that could help you get in touch with the president that way. If not, then definitely any of us could reach.
yeah, so if you are someone who's like, hey, we want to do this and our PTA may not know about it, yes, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So we sent out emails to all the PTA presidents. Maybe they missed it. They glanced over it, didn't know what it was, and moved on. They hit them in a busy season. They ignored us. Who knows? So we want to say like they know about it, but they may not. If you shoot us an email, and I'll let me put this up first. If you need to take a picture of this or screenshot or something, so you can see the different resources. I don't want to lose this, or not let you see this. And I'll go back to the first one with our email addresses. If you email us and you want us to help you contact your PTA, we absolutely can help you do that. We'd be happy to. Like Jessica said, if you know someone and you want to start the process, and then someone asked, like, is there a newsletter, email list we can subscribe to? The best thing you can do is fill out this survey here, and then you'll be on our list. That's pretty much it. We don't necessarily have like an ongoing email that's going out, at least not at the moment. But as we start building this and we have more schools involved, then yes. And we do have some schools that are already doing this. I'll go back. This is another, if you want to contact us, you can hit this as well. Or let me go back here. This is us, so you can email either one of us is fine. We'll take care of it. Or Amy put her email. There's if you need to figure out who's in charge of your PTA and those kinds of things. But we're happy to help make that introduction and say, hey, this is the program we're doing. Like I said before, I want to believe that if we approach your PTA and saying, hey, we're supporting this, they have the tools and training, that they're going to be more likely to say, yeah, let's do it or let's give it a try versus saying, hey, we want you, president, to create this for us, right? No one wants to take on that extra work if they don't know what it is. But they don't have to because we're going to do that for you or help you with that. And if you're interested in being part of that, let us know. Email us, fill out the surveys, like just let us know what you're interested in so we can, make sure we're sending you the right information, excuse me, and things like that. Any other questions?
Can you go back to the QR code?
Yes. Just make one slide with all this on it at the end. So tomorrow, that group will have.
And I can't recall if there's a part on the survey where you put what school you're from. If not, can you just make sure that you're attaching what school you are related to? That way it's easier for us because we are doing this for the entire school district of Hillsborough County and our district is very big.
Yeah.
So that would be a great appreciation. I'm sorry?
I just looked and it does ask for the school. And
Okay,
if you
perfect.
have
Thank
more
you
than
so
one
much.
child and at different
Perfect.
schools, it says to do it for each school.
And
Perfect.
technically,
Thank
if you have a
so
bunch of
much.
kids, want to, it's fine. Just put a note somewhere so we can keep track of it.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, that's a prime example of me. I have 3 and all 3 of mine are all at different schools. Perfect. Are there any more questions?
Cool. I think we're in good shape. I mean, feel free to reach out if you come up with a question later. If you have a question you didn't want to ask in public, hit one of those email addresses. Fill up. I mean, you can even just use a QR code and send us. I mean, there's a note section. Just put whatever you want in there. That's good as well. And we're excited that all of you came to the meeting today. I hope that this was informational and motivating, and that you want to be involved. We have a lot of ways to do that.
Yes. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you guys for your time. And we hope this will be a monthly thing where we can get everybody together and get them some information and some skills to build your leadership in this area and help our schools be more inclusive, our PTAs be more inclusive, because that's the goal. All children to have opportunity and equity in education here in Hillsborough and everywhere for that matter. But since we're all in Hillsborough, we'll say Hillsborough for now. We'll start here and we'll move out in every direction. How's that sound? Kind of like Tamara there. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you, Will and Jessica, for leading this. It's been a trip, a long trip this year trying to build this out. And we encourage everybody to get involved as much as you can in any way you can. So hopefully y'all have PTAs and they will be receptive, but I will connect everybody who sent me information. I'm happy to do that and help to start the conversations.
And so I see a question, Denise, is there a way to receive invites monthly or just look out for the school's emails? I'm not sure I understand the question, and maybe someone else.
So when we do a monthly, like you're gonna, if you sign up for the parent rep, Will's creating a list so that when we do anything, everybody on that list will get notification. So make sure you sign up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's step one, is building our list. We have, I mean,
Trying
some
to
of you may
build
already be on our
our
list.
base here. We're working on that, and then
You answered my question. Okay,
moving on.
perfect.
That's a good
Fantastic.
question.
Thank you.
All right. So I will get this loaded onto YouTube as soon as I can.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Have
Bye,
a good day.
everyone. Thanks for being here.